Thank you, Steve, and thanks to the organizers, Joe, Mitch, for inviting me and organizing a conference bringing together members of the pharmaceutical industry. I think it's absolutely critical that we share experiences and move forward in a united front. What I'm going to talk to you today about is drugs for rare diseases, and I'd like to start with a Hollywood-type question. Extraordinary Measures is a recent movie that's come out, and I'd just like to see if you guys know what this is about. So can we move to the question? Okay, so Extraordinary Measures is a movie about A, Secret Service quest to save the president, B, a doctor framed for the murder of his wife, C, a scientist race against time to develop a cure for a rare disease, D, I don't know, I really need to get out more, E, who cares, it has Harrison Ford in it, I'm going to see it. If you answered A or B, you're in the right genre. If you answered D, you're probably like me. And E is close to being correct, but the correct answer is actually C. First time, I think our industry has been represented in movies before. This is actually the first time Drugs for Rare Diseases, and this is actually a true story, or based on a true story about a scientist, a doctor, and his quest to develop a cure for Pompeii's disease, in which his children suffered from. So we're actually in Hollywood. Which of the following countries does not have an orphan drug or rare disease policy? United States, Australia, France, UK, or Canada? 95% of you are correct, and it is Canada. So what it is about rare diseases? I saw this cartoon, and I think this really describes it well. You have a condition whose name is very hard to remember. The truth about rare diseases is that they are diseases that, if it wasn't for the industry, these people would have very little hope in dealing with their disease. And then specifically, when we start to talk about a definition of rare disease, there's a lot of essentially, people have different definitions, and this is what we need to come to agreement on. But another question for you: what do you think is the rare definition of rare disease here in Canada? Great. So the real answer is number 4, because the challenge with rare diseases is that there is no definition in Canada, and because of that, it leads to confusion as to what is a rare disease and what is not. It allows the provinces or the federal government to make up their own definition, and the real challenge here is that we need a single definition in Canada as a very starting point for rare diseases. Now, Professor Michael Rollins, who's chairman of NICE in the UK, summarized it very well when he said, it's a real dilemma when you're dealing with rare diseases. It's a complex issue. People who, with orphan diseases, suffer 2 misfortunes. They not only suffer from a miserable disease, but it's so rare that either no one will invest in finding a cure, or if they do, they may be very expensive. And based on the Citizens Council recommendation, which the UK had asked to comment on drugs for rare diseases, the basic outcome of that was that the decision to fund is societal, not economic. And this is one of the most important elements when it comes to drugs for rare diseases, in that we really have to focus on individuals and looking at societal issues as opposed to simple cost-effectiveness measures, because these drugs do not fit in the cost-effectiveness basket. So when we talk about investing public money in ultra-orphan drugs discovery, it helps to ensure that there's an increase in research and development overall. And coverage of ultra-orphan drugs will be an opportunity to help patients with unmet medical needs, and that what NICE has as a definition of orphan drugs is a prevalence of a disease of less than 20 per million population. So these are patients who are few and far between. They've unfortunately won a lottery, but it's the wrong lottery to win. When we talk about the Common Drug Review, and the earlier group of panel members talked about Common Drug Review and some of the challenges we face as an industry with the Common Drug Review, in the orphan drug category, it's no different. In fact, in many respects, it's even worse in that by applying their cost-effectiveness measures, they simply are not set up to assess drugs for rare diseases. And when we talk about the provinces and what the provinces are doing, the provinces are starting to make strides forward. This is in particular the Alberta Program and Drug for Rare Disease program. They have information on it, but really the program is in its infancy. And it's similar in Ontario, where they are developing a framework for drugs for rare diseases, but the framework and the programs are truly in their infancy. And the provinces, in many respects, have been left holding the bag, so to speak, from the federal government in terms of deciding what to do with these patients and the medications that can help support these patients. And the question is, is Canada behind the times when it comes to orphan drugs? The answer is an emphatic yes. And federal and provincial authorities must step up and make a difference. And what I will quote, and thanks to Peter for this slide, is that there is a call for action when it comes to drug for rare diseases. And the very first and simple thing to do is, and it doesn't take much from the governments, is to establish a common definition here. And the next element is to grant orphan product designation, because these are the things that will make a difference in terms of creating market incentives. Before the orphan drug policy was implemented in the U.S., there was very little incentive to manufacturers to develop and discover these drugs for these rare diseases. And now it's a burgeoning industry with a number of companies having discovered very important medications that have helped a number of people throughout the world. And obviously establishing marketing incentives, expediting reviews, clinical protocol assistance, making it a means and ways for Canadians with orphan drugs to get access, or Canadians with orphan diseases to get access to these drugs, it makes a big difference. Quickly on Alexion Pharmaceuticals, we were a company that was founded in 1992. Our CEO was the founder and spent 15 years in clinical research and development until our first product, Soliris or eculizumab, came available. Our mission is to develop and deliver life-changing drug therapies for patients with serious and life-threatening conditions. And I think one of the things we're most proud about is our Prix Galien Award for improving the human condition. And that's why we're all here and what we're all about in terms of helping patients. And I think with that, I will turn it over to the next speaker, Zlata Karik. Thank you.